As mentioned in the first video, I decided in 2001 to train as a butler and learn more about official receptions and protocol. The picture here represents Haus de Furst, a castle built in 1700, home to the International Butler Academy where I studied. This is me on my bike in front of the gate. And after graduation, the academy was located in the Netherlands, which was good to acquire continental European style. Although one of our instructors was British, I wanted more of the UK flavor. So I went up over there, and after a while ended up in crew at Rolls-Royce to immerse myself in the distinct culture of this company. The chauffeur school was created in 1912, and I felt I could learn a few things from them. The car photographed here is a silver Seraph. I was trained on this model. In crew at the factory in those days, they were building both Bentleys and Rolls-Royces on the same assembly lines. As expected, I found the instructors rather demanding. One thing they did was to test our ability. We practiced losing control on a special track with a Bentley turbo, seen here, equipped with extra wheels that pushes down on command to generate a loss of adherence. Fortunately, coming from Canada, I was used to drive in the snow to go skiing in the wintertime. This helped a bit. And the time proved to be right. I got there just in time to receive one of the last certificates. The Joint School of Instruction stopped its activities in 2002, after 90 years of operation. Since my youth, I've always been inspired by the culture of our Rolls-Royces, especially the philosophy and work ethics of Henry Royce that he expressed in phrases like, "Take the best that exists and make it better. If it doesn't exist, design it." Or, "Small things make perfection, but perfection is no small thing." Those are great lines for the acquisition of a butler mindset, no? Back to the butler training. Part of the course was wine instruction. It proved to be a watershed moment. It is after receiving instruction from Jacques Rousse that I had an epiphany. Mr. Rousse showed us how to properly saber champagne and gave us a great introduction to the art of wine and food pairing. I remember him having cooked for us a rabbit in Chinon that he served with different style of wines to have us discuss which one would work best with the dish. So what was my epiphany? It started this way. When I was listening to butler placement agencies, I noticed that they like to talk about the high, sometimes very high salaries a butler could command. In my mind, this was not making a lot of sense, especially if the butler was not showing any area of expertise that could somehow distinguish him from others. Then I asked myself, besides his normal activities, what could a butler do that would make him special in the eyes of a prospective employer? I mulled it over for a while, then came to realize the following. A butler in his working environment is normally surrounded by many fine things. Maybe one of the most precious collections a butler would take care of could be the wine cellar. Plus it is up his alley. The word butler, after all, comes from the French word bouteiller, or the one who takes care of the cellar and, in the old days, would transfer the wine in casks to bottles or decanters and serve. That was my epiphany. I felt that for a butler striving for excellence, to become conversant with wine and to know how to curate and manage a fine wine collection was the expertise to acquire. To make original suggestions, fill a cellar and acquire a breadth of knowledge on the topic of wine, that will be what I will strive for from now on. Returning to Canada with fire in my belly, I started in earnest my wine studies. Exit the idea of working in an embassy as head of protocol. Having always loved to teach, since normal butler school only scratched the surface on wine instruction, I had decided to one day create my own butler school. It would be built around a unique world-class fine wines cellar management program. But I was getting ahead of myself. First things first, I had to train to become an expert, start a wine school, and have it acquire a first-class reputation, and then roll it into my future Butler Academy and develop the fine wine curriculum for the cellar management program. From 2002 onward, this became my plan, and I never strayed from it. In parallel, while studying wine, I practiced my butler art and gave business etiquette seminars on the side. Also, I traveled the world to discover and learn more about wine. It didn't exclude having a bit of fun too. This is a picture of a wine event ticket in 2006 where I got hired by the Argentine producer Catena Zapata in Beijing. They presented their wines in China with a bit of Argentine tango for good measure. In 2008, I went back to China, this time going to the hinterland to experience something different other than the big cities. Upon arrival in this village, they offered us a local wine. In 2008 as well, I started teaching about wine and became a wine and lifestyle critic for an art magazine. For 4 years, I held 2 columns. One was wine, the other was the Butler view on how to live an elegant lifestyle. As an aside, if you look at the picture, you will notice that I have put the famous painter Riopelle issue in the middle for the memory I kept of him when we met in Venice in 1985. It was epic. Riopelle, by the way, loved fine wines and drank only the best. Also, I gave conferences. This one is about etiquette and how to plan and organize a formal dinner. In the fall of 2009, I went back to France to become an accredited Bordeaux wines instructor. I took this picture of Sandrine Garbet, Ecam brilliant winemaker, preparing for us a tasting. I raised the glass and reached for my phone. This is Ecam at the forefront and the chateau at the back. Needless to say, I was all pumped up with enthusiasm from this trip to Bordeaux.